Yeah, we're live on YouTube. I'm going live in the studio. This is Smooth 98.1. We love music, we love life. It is 31 minutes past 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. You're listening to the Smooth Breakfast. Yours truly is Ayokunmi. And it is time to get into the papers. Take a look at what's making the rounds in the headlines across Nigeria. This is Freshly Pressed. It's an interactive session, as it always is. So we're always looking forward to you sharing your thoughts on the stories we'll be talking about this morning. Come through and join us on 0809 440 981 0809 440 981. That is the WhatsApp number. You can also drop a comment on YouTube or streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. That is on YouTube. My analysts are in for the ride this morning to break it all down and, of course, give us some clarity on the stories we'll be sharing. Mr. C and Gbubemi, of course, are with me this morning. Very good morning to you, gentlemen. Great to have you on.
Good morning, Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Lagos.
Mr.
Good
C,
morning,
good morning.
Aya. Good morning, Aya. Good morning, Gbubemi. Good morning, Lagos.
All right, let's kick things off right now. Let's start our journey this morning, Mr. C, in the Premium Times. And of course, the NNPC once again are in the news for whatever reason. So, Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra State has accused the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's the NNPCL, of failing to remit oil revenues to the Nigerian government for over 5 months. Now, Mr. Soludo spoke during an event at the Dora Queenly Women Development Center, Oka, the Anambra State capital. This is an interesting update coming out here. I saw the video clip, which has actually been circulating, and he's claiming, Governor Soto is claiming that Nigerian government had been relying on remittances from Nigerian Customs Service and taxes to pay monthly allowances and monthly allocations, I beg your pardon, to state governments. What is going on in this particular situation?
Okay, thank you, Aya. So what the governor of Anambra State has done is he's confirmed what some of us privately have known for at least the better part of a year or even more, that the NNPC hasn't been making the required remittances into the federal accounts. And as a result, it confirms what we're saying. Nigeria is teetering on the brink of complete bankruptcy. Now, why do I say this? This video was recorded sometime in July. And he was saying in the preceding 5 months, the NNPC had not made any required remittances into the federal accounts. Now, it then begs the question, the same NNPC is supposedly owing all traders outside Nigeria a sum ranging between 6 billion and 6.8 billion US dollars, right?
Right.
Now, ostensibly, this is for the cost of the oil coming into, the cost of the petrol coming to Nigeria. Now, when the petrol came into Nigeria, the local marketers on ground paid for the petrol. The ultimate consumers, you, me, and Gbubemi, and the rest of Nigerians, paid for the petrol. So we have a situation where you brought in petrol, the people on the ground have paid for it. We don't know where those monies have gone to. You're owing, you insist you owe all traders outside. You cannot explain how that debt arose. And then now we have a statement from a governor, not a statement from some Nigerian youth with a phone who has sufficient data and is typing whatever crosses his mind. This is a governor. He should know what he's talking about. Because every month, each commissioner of finance for the states converges in Abuja for the monthly federal accounts allocation committee meeting. And it is at that meeting, each state knows what it's going to get. Governor Soludo says the money that has been shared so far is money from customs, money from the FIRS and other government agencies. The big question is this: why is the NNPC not paying? What exactly is going on in that sector? And it takes me back to Serap's demand a few days ago, that the president, who also doubles as a minister for petroleum resources, should urgently investigate the NNPC. What did we get after that request? We had operators of the Department of State Security Services storming syrup offices and then later claiming it was a routine investigation. The truth of the matter is, all is not well, all does not appear to be right, and the NNPC has been shockingly quiet following Mr. Soludo's statement. One would have expected that you would hear from the NNPC saying, okay, in the month of February, this is how much we remitted. In the month of March down to June, these are the amounts we remitted each month. And then on the basis of that, the burden of proof would then swing back to Governor Soludo for him to then defend his position in the light of the NNPC's else response. But there's been no such response. Even the ministers of state in the Ministry of Petroleum are quiet. The Minister of Finance and the coordinating minister, Mr. Wale Adjum, is equally quiet. The central bank governor is equally quiet. The truth of the matter is, for how long are we going to deal with these things? Because the bulk of Nigeria's money comes from petrol, crude oil. Now, secondly, this also buttresses the point that has been made in several quarters that it is very, very possible that a lot of Nigeria's future oil production has already been mortgaged for loans which have been received, and we cannot identify the purposes for which those loans were used. Because that's the only thing that makes sense out of this entire quagmire, that we appear to be selling petrol. We produce petrol, even 1.2, 1.3 million barrels a day. Yet the NNPC doesn't have money. The NNPC is not remitting money. Why is that the case? Maybe the NNPC is already contractually obliged to return certain amounts of crude oil to the lenders. Now, if that is the case, for how long will this arrangement last? What are the short-term, mid-term, and long-term implications for Nigeria while this arrangement of repaying loans with crude oil subsists? Where is the National Assembly? What is the National Assembly saying on this? Surprisingly, they're still on holidays. Even when there's a crisis in Maiduguri, that almost the entire state is underneath water. The president is still outside the country. The Senate is still on recess. There's just so many things that don't add up in this country, don't make any sense. And if I tell you that as a Nigerian, I understand what is going on, that would be a gross misstatement. But let's see how this story unfolds. At some point, the NNPCL has to make a statement. They cannot afford to keep quiet. The relevant ministers and the relevant government spokespersons also have to make a comment.
Right.
Because if they don't make a comment, then they leave room for schools of thought, conspiracy theories to breed. And when they breed, it never bodes anything good for the nation at large.
All right, thank you for sharing those thoughts right there, Mr. C. Share your thoughts with us on WhatsApp on 0809 440 981. 0809 440 981. That's the WhatsApp number to share your thoughts with us. Let's get back into the papers. And I'm coming to you with this one from The Guardian. And the Federal High Court in Abuja has granted a bill sum of 10 million naira to each of the 10 detainees arrested in connection with last month's End Bad Governance protest. Now, they include Michael Adaramoye, Adeyemi Abayomi, Suleiman Yakubu, and so on and so forth. Now, Justice Emeka Nwite granted them bail yesterday while ruling on the applications filed and argued by lawyers to the 10 protesters who were charged by the Inspector General of Police with treason and advocating a military takeover, among others.
So, aside from the 10 million provided by the court for them to meet, include providing sureties in like sum. The sureties must also have property in Abuja and they must deposit the documents of the properties with the court, in addition to swearing an affidavit of means. They must also deposit their international passports and 3 recent passport photographs with the court as well. The court also restrained the defendants from further participating in any public rallies during the period of their trial. Trial has been adjourned to September 27th, and the defendants have been left to fulfill their bail conditions. Well, their lawyers have argued that protesting is a civil right, and under no basis should people be arrested for protesting, especially when they're protesting peacefully. The IGP has clearly, other thoughts, because he's charged them with treason and attempting to take over and advocating for military takeover. I'm not quite sure what evidence, if any at all, the IGP has. To the best of my knowledge, these people were participants in the Embark government's protest, which happened in August. And they've sort of become like the collateral damage, quote unquote. A lot of people have argued that should I say the presidency, the forces that make that be, are doing this to sort of set an example, so people realize that there's no quote unquote benefits to protesting. I've heard various arguments in the media, people saying, "Oh, this is a stronger handed technique. They should just let the people be. All they were doing was protesting, blah blah blah, all of that." Well, they've been charged to court. There's nothing that we can do about that now. The law has to take its course. Like I mentioned, the lawyers had also argued, that the charges against them are not tenable. So we wait until they go to court. We wait until we see what the proceedings will be, or if the IGP decides to withdraw the case, which I doubt will happen. However, I think it's important, that people realize that protesting is typically the last action that people will take to register their grievances or their concerns or whatever. And very often, I say this all the time, we always focus on the symptoms and not the root cause. Protesting is not the root cause. Something led to people protesting. And those are the things that people at the very least would like to see proactive statements and actions about.
Right.
So, arresting people because they protested, for me, it's really, really, really in bad taste. It doesn't really augur well, and in reality, like some have said, if this is supposed to be a quote unquote warning for people not to consider protesting, sometimes I wonder, do these things really work? Because people can only get pushed to a certain level, and we cannot legislate how and why people would fight or demand for what they believe is due to them. So, well, we wait until the case goes to court in 2 weeks.
Wait until the case actually goes to court in 2 weeks. And Nigerians out there are very curious to see how this all will pan out at the end of the day and see whether or not justice will be done in this particular situation. Let's take some thoughts on WhatsApp lining up already. KB says, sad news about Maiduguri. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Crude to pay debt goes on till June next year, so we hear. KB, do you have any link to that? I'd love to see that for myself. And if that actually is the case, then we are definitely in for a ride, if that is the case. Barrister Danokuda says, we are tired of all the infractions going on in the NNPC. With the latest revelation by Solido, it's now very clear that our oil production has been mortgaged for one loan or the other. Let's see. This is Tuboso from Ogun State. He says there's only beating around the bush. With subsidy, it is understandable why there is no cash flow in the company. We buy expensive and sell at a price less than the cost of what we bought. It's only a matter of time. Cash flow constraints will set in. Get subsidy out and we will see the real account. No need for the governor giving comments that every sensible person should understand. But hey, that's the thing, Tuboso. Not everybody is aware of this information. And some people actually will not believe this information until it comes from a quote and unquote credible source. Not that I said quote and unquote credible source. So we also need to factor that in. Joseph Menye says, why is this administration of the day Why is it that this administration of the day are quick to arrest and threaten protesters demanding for a better nation from our government, but calmer to asking for dialogue or negotiation with terrorists and bandits who kill and destroy properties? Worse is a judge demanding 100 million naira bail bond, yet gives amnesty to kidnappers, terrorists, corrupt government officials, and politicians. I don't know if it's that same judge that did the same thing. So unless your punctuation is not, this country really needs mental evaluation. May God bless Nigeria. Joseph, thank you for sharing your thoughts there. Joseph, Mr. C, let's get back into the stories this morning. And right now we are heading into, let's see here, we're heading into this day newspaper. Now, we're going to talk about money here. Now, in an unprecedented move, or you know what, let's hold off on that story and take this one coming from The Guardian. In a strategic move to reduce fuel costs and provide Nigerians with an affordable alternative to petrol and diesel, President Bola Tinubu has made compressed natural gas, that's CNG, available for vehicles at 230 naira per litre. This is an initiative that offers a cheaper and cleaner alternative to petrol, which currently sells for over 900 naira per litre. Mr. C. You're muted, Mr. C. You need to unmute. You're muted at the
Sorry,
moment.
thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Ayo.
All right.
So the presidential initiative on compressed gas has started, and the initial rollout, only 10,000 compression CNG conversion kits were provided. Now, these kits are to be given to transporters along with free installation. And the whole objective of this exercise or this initiative is to ultimately reduce the fuel costs of commercial transporters. And even though it was not expressly stated, hopefully lead to a reduction in transport fares across the nation. So they started with 10,000, and the initial price is 213 naira per litre. Now, I don't know why they're talking about liters, because this is gas, it's not a liquid. But anyways, the science guys will sort that out. Now, my first question is 230 naira. Is that a subsidized price? Is that the current market price? Or are we going to have is that an introductory price so that people can jump on board the CNG train? Because when we were comparing it to the petrol price, which is hovering somewhere around 900 now, it struck my mind that even with the price of petrol, when it's subject to the forces of demand and supply, it can either go up or go down. Now, yes, there isn't a lot of demand for CNG conversion kits now, but as more people sign up and as supply increases, as demand increases, are we still going to see the price at 230? It will be very interesting to find out whether it remains there or it goes up. And if it goes up, by what percentage? So the claim being touted now that it will be better off than petrol is at best premature. Because let's not forget, right, that CNG, the price of CNG is also, when you're computing the cost, you have to, there's one of the indices that is indexed to the international price of gas. Why that happens, I have no idea. So if the international price of gas increases, you don't need anyone to tell you that the price of CNG will also increase. And just to educate the listeners, some of whom don't know, CNG is also used to power a lot of residential estates, and there are residential estates within Lagos that are being powered by CNG. Now, having said that, this exercise is supposed to continue over 18 months. Now, I have questions or doubts about the sustainability of this initiative. If your target is 1 million kits over 18 months, why are you starting with 10,000 kits? One would expect that if you're going to project seriousness and confidence to the public, you probably start with maybe 100,000 or 150,000 kits. But no problems, they started. will we see a reduction in the prices of commercial transport fares? Unlikely, because I'm not aware a commitment was extracted from the commercial transporters. It's a it's even a big mystery how they factor in their price, how they compute their prices now. Do not be surprised that when they receive these conversion kits and they're installed, they will continue to increase their fares. Because for Lagosians and Nigerians who use commercial transport, anytime it rains or anytime there's some sort of natural event or commotion, transport prices at least double. So, what is to stop these guys from receiving these free gifts and continue to increase prices arbitrarily? That's one. Two, why are we giving profit run businesses free gifts? Why not spread the cost over a period of time and they can be paying instrumentally? Because the truth of the matter is, money is required to fund this program. Where is the money coming from? We're still not sure what the NNPCL is on about, and that is a major cash cow. So if we don't sort out the NNPCL and the other sources of income dwindle or dry out, where does this leave this initiative? What will be the fate of the initiative, say 6 months, 10 months down the line? Many questions, as usual, very few answers, if any. But we keep our fingers crossed and we'll watch this space.
We'll definitely watch this space. Let me see here. Rexy from Surulere says, what's going on is a lot of corruption because we all want cheap fuel based on a fraudulent subsidy system. Get rid of subsidies and privatize the NNPC. Simple. Haven't they done that? We switched to NNPCL. Rexy. Let me see here. Tunde says, my worry with the CNG is safety. How safe are we with all these cylinders I've been seeing? What are the side effects that they are not telling us? I believe this is just a trick. Else the government should show examples by first having their SUVs converted to CNG so that they can save cost of government. I think one thing that the government also needs to do is to create a lot of awareness and, should I say, sensitization about, because they're not doing, like Sunni, for example, asking these questions. They do not know about these things. And really, it would make a whole lot of sense for them to come out and, talk about it more, more intensely, and put it out there. If they do, it's probably not enough in terms of the awareness about CNG safety and so on and so forth. So
okay, so let me jump in 20 seconds. So there's been some awareness. I agree with you completely that there has to be a lot more awareness, but also something people should know. If you elect to convert to CNG, you are reducing the available space in the trunk of your car. It's very important to note this because there will actually be at least one cylinder in your car.
Right. Thank you for that, Mr. C. All right, let's take a story coming out of the Guardian. This is about the flooding that has been going on in Bordeaux State and other parts of the Northeast as well. Now, no fewer than 286 inmates have reportedly escaped from the Maiduguri Medium Security Custodial Center following severe flooding in the Borno State capital on Tuesday. Now, State Governor Babagana Zulum said 1 million people were affected by the tragedy, with rescue operations in top gear. Borno State Emergency Management Agency has rescued at least 179 victims from trees and rooftops. Amid growing concern over the shortage of foodstuff and other commodities in Maiduguri as thousands of residents struggle for survival after the ravaging flood. Sad situation going on out there in the north.
So the flood, happened on Tuesday and was caused by the overflowing of the Alao Dam. Apparently the dam has needed to be constructed for a while, and that wasn't prioritized. So, the Minister of Interior has now said that he will, focus on that together with the state governor as well. Regarding the inmates who escaped, a spokesman has said also, that they're working with the state governor as well to look for how to evacuate the remaining prisoners who are still in the facility, understanding that all those areas are submerged. We didn't hear anything about searching for those who have escaped. Most likely, they may not be found, but only God knows where they are now. That's even if they survive. However, this flooding situation is something that really could have been avoided. I'm happy that the Minister of Interior at least, went and paid a physical visit to Maiduguri yesterday. And he was there as well, with the Director General of the Borno State Emergency Agency, and they're talking about the work that they have done in attempting to rescue people. Um, affecting 1 million people already. Areas of the northeast, have a lot of IDP camps. Some
Right.
of them have recently been resettled back into parts of Borno, parts of Maiduguri and Borno. So I can imagine that this flood again has affected them all over again. So it's like living a nomadic life for a significant part of your life. You know, we also have to factor in the fact that all these areas flooded will bring about increased waterborne diseases, for example. Poor health conditions. The whole state is really not palatable. Anyway, the minister has said that they have a 3 billion naira fund to address this. You know, he hasn't said exactly how they will dispense that. But we hope that they urgently at least try and save those that can be saved. Relocate those who can be relocated, and let's see what happens.
The thing about this is, for me, before we leave this particular story, is the big question: will any lessons actually be learned? Because yes, we understand that the dam broke and all, but I mean, you need to ask the question: what led to the dam breaking? Was it in good condition? Was it properly maintained? And so on and so forth. There's a crisis going on in Vietnam as well at the moment. Typhoon Yagi out there, but that's a typhoon. We can understand that it's a natural disaster. But talking about the dam here, yes, it's been terrible what happened, heavy rains and all. But in what condition was that particular dam? Was it regularly maintained? Could this have probably been prevented? And what are we also doing in terms of stopping the next incident that would happen? Because we always talk about these things happening, we commiserate, and our thoughts and prayers are with, but it doesn't go beyond that. So questions that need to be asked are, in reality, is anything actually being done to stop the next thing from happening? All right, Mr. C, let's take one more story really quickly here. And this is the one I wanted to take earlier on. It's coming out of the This Day newspaper. And excuse me, it says in an unprecedented move aimed at strengthening the economy and advancing financial inclusion, the federal government has raised over $900 million from its first ever domestic federal government of Nigeria, FGN, US dollar bond issuance. Now, the Debt Management Office, the DMO, described the achievement as a pivotal step in Nigeria's economic development. We need to be quick with this, Mr. See your thoughts.
Very quickly. So the bond issued by the federal government under the domestic US dollar bond issuance was oversubscribed by 180%. So the federal government was looking to get 500 million US dollars. They got 900 million US dollars. And I understand they're going to collect all of it, because typically they have the option to either take only the 500 or retain all the proceeds. Now, the rate is 9.75% over 5 years. Now, this is a high interest rate because they had to offer something higher than the Eurobond offer if they were going to get people interested. The big question is, where's the government going to get the money to repay this interest over 5 years? That's one. Two, the monies, what will they be used for? As usual, the Minister for Finance says that they will be directed towards critical sectors of the economy as approved by the president. In English, I'm not sure what that means, because these critical sectors were not identified. Proceeds of previous loans taken, we don't know what ended up with those loans. And that has been a sad tale of Nigeria. Let's hope this money doesn't go the way of previous loans obtained. And let's hope that for the first time, we can actually identify what these monies are being used for. But again, fingers crossed, it's early days. Let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed, and let's see what happens. All right, let's round up with some messages. Adeboyega Adidiji says, in as much as I want to commiserate with those who had their properties, farms, homes, offices, and so on flooded and couldn't go about their daily means of livelihood as a result of some negligence of some people in positions of power in the state and federal level that brought about the flood, I think from the antecedents of Nigerian politicians, this flood and the attention that comes with it could be another avenue for stealing and diverting funds meant for the purpose of taking care of victims affected by the incident. Oluwaseyi says the NNPCL, which is supposed to be a privatized company now, And I believe it's still not different from the NNPC before. Everything about it, how it operates, its revenues and money it spends are all unknown to the general public. So much is unknown about it. All we know is what they tell us and hearsay. How can that be? All right, thank you for your message there. David says, has the government looked into the safety of having the CNG cylinders in vehicles? What risk assessment has been done considering our climate, conditions of the buses that it will use as this fuel source? That's a good question. I also thought gas prices were pegged to FX rates. Will this be sustainable? Good question there. Let me see who's talking to us here. Abimbola says, on CNG, why can't Mr. C simply just appreciate a good gesture of government? Is it your job to find fault in everything that the government does? As far as I know, Mr. C said good initiative, but he also raised some questions there. So, but thank you for sharing your thoughts, Abimbola. Let me see one more message. This is Chooks from Ikorodu who says, I think the government is trying to pull the wool over our eyes with the CNG initiative. When it was being talked about last year, we are told that the price would be 100 naira. Now it has gotten to 250, and I know when it's fully 230 actually. And I know when it's fully implemented, the price would still be much more. CNG is never the solution in the long term. All right. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts this morning. And thank you so much, Mr. C and Gbubemi, for joining me on Freshly Pressed. Always a pleasure having you on.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Do have
Thank you
yourselves.
for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mr. C. Good to have yourself a great morning and a great Thursday ahead. Keep it tuned to Smooth 98.1 and the Smooth Breakfast. 8:15, we'll take a walk into the Grapevine, all about entertainment news at that time.